Welcome, beloved soul. Take a slow breath and let your heart grow quiet in this moment. The angels have been whispering about a sacred truth meant for you. They say God's plan has been at work in ways you could not see. And it has brought them back into your arms, not by chance, not by accident, but by divine intention. For there was a time when you thought it was over, a time when the distance felt like a permanent wall, and the silence felt like the final chapter. You prayed. You questioned. You searched your heart for the lesson in the letting go. And yet, while you were learning how to stand in the light of God's comfort, He was moving pieces in the unseen to restore what once seemed lost. This return was not forced. It was not rushed. It was prepared by the one who knows every heartbeat and every tear you've ever shed. They may have walked away. They may have been led down a path you could not follow. But the shepherd never stopped guiding them home, for God has a way of writing stories that circle back to where love was planted in truth. He knew the journey they needed to take. He knew the lessons they could only learn away from your embrace. And He knew that, in the right moment, they would see what they could not see before. The angels say this is that moment. A moment when the weight they carried apart from you has been lifted. A moment when the truth they denied has become impossible to ignore. They have remembered the warmth of your presence. They have remembered the way your love reflected God's love. And they have realized that what they sought elsewhere was already given to them through you. This is not just a return in the body. It is a return of the heart. It is a restoration that has been touched by the breath of heaven. Because God's plan never simply brings something back the way it was. He brings it back renewed, healed, and anchored in a deeper purpose. Beloved, I want you to hear this. You did not lose what God ordained. It may have seemed gone, but it was being shaped, purified, and aligned so that it could truly remain. The angels say your patience was not in vain. Every lonely prayer you whispered, every tear you released into God's hands, every time you chose forgiveness over bitterness, all of it became a seed in the soil of His promise. And now, that seed is blooming in the form of reconciliation. They have been brought back into your arms, not so the past can be repeated, but so a new chapter can be written. One built on truth instead of fear, on trust instead of uncertainty, on God's timing instead of human rushing. This is why you must hold them with grace, not holding over them the weight of the past, not demanding perfection, but allowing God's gentle hand to keep guiding both of you forward, because His plan is not just about reunion. It is about redemption, and redemption always brings beauty out of what once felt broken beyond repair. Beloved soul, if this word is finding you today, it is because heaven wants you to know you can trust this return. You don't have to live in suspicion. You don't have to keep waiting for them to run again, for the same God who brought them back has the power to keep them here. Let His peace be the foundation of your love now. Let His voice be the compass that guides your steps together. And let your gratitude for this restoration overflow in your prayers. For when God's plan unfolds, it not only blesses the moment, it blesses the generations to come. If this message has spoken to your spirit today, I gently invite you to stay connected. Subscribe for more peaceful guidance rooted in God's truth. Share your reflections or your prayer requests in the comments. I will hold them in prayer with you. Share this message with someone whose heart is waiting for hope. And if your spirit feels led, you can support this channel with a super thanks, helping these words reach more souls who are in need of God's comfort. Your presence here is not unnoticed. Your faith is not unseen. And your love is not forgotten by heaven. Rest in the truth that God's plan has brought them back, and His plan will keep what He has restored. Take this with you into your day. God's timing is perfect, and His hands are steady. Even in the seasons when you cannot see the path, He is still leading you home. Beloved soul, be still for a moment, and let these words settle in your heart. The angels are still speaking about this return, and they want you to know it is not fragile. It is not temporary. It is rooted in the will of God. This is not just the story of someone coming back. It is the story of God weaving together every broken thread into a tapestry you could not have imagined. There was a time when you thought the door was closed for good. You even tried to convince yourself that you had to move on. That maybe the love you carried was a burden instead of a blessing. You told yourself that if they were gone, then perhaps it was because you weren't meant to keep them. But heaven saw how, in the quiet moments, their name would still rise in your spirit, not as an obsession, not as a longing for the past, but as a quiet knowing that something unfinished still lived between you. The angels watched as you laid this love on the altar of God, saying, "If it's your will, let it be restored. If it's not, give me peace to release it." And beloved, the moment you surrendered it, heaven began to move, because God does not work in the noise of desperation. He works in the calm space of trust. You could not see what he was arranging. The long nights they spent wrestling with themselves. The moments when the people around them could not fill the emptiness inside. The way certain conversations, certain songs, certain places brought your memory back to them like a soft wind carrying your name. They began to see how the love they had with you was unlike anything they had ever known. Not perfect, because no love between humans is flawless, but pure in its intent, sacred in its foundation, and rooted in the kind of connection that time could not erase. God was patient with them. Just as he was patient with you, he allowed them to see the contrast, what life felt like in your presence, and what it felt like without you. He let them feel the weight of choices made without prayer. He let them walk paths that left their soul thirsty. And in his perfect timing, he began drawing them back, not out of guilt, not out of convenience, but out of a revelation that you are part of. The destiny he wrote for them. When they finally reached the point of returning, it was not a whim. It was a decision born from the heart God had been shaping. And beloved, the angels say, this time, they are not returning with the same mindset. They come with humility. They come with gratitude. They come with eyes that finally see what you truly are, a gift from the Father above. And I want to speak to your heart about this. It is safe to receive them. I know your mind may whisper, what if it happens again? What if they leave again? But fear is not your guide, now faith is. The same God who held you through the absence is the one who orchestrated the return, and he is not careless with what he restores. This reunion is not a second chance at the same story. It is the beginning of a redeemed story. The past taught you both what love requires. It taught you the value of prayer over pride. It showed you that time apart can either break a bond or prove its strength, and this bond endured. The angels are rejoicing because they see a future ahead, a future that carries peace where there was once uncertainty. But beloved, they also whisper this gentle reminder, be patient with each other. Even in God's plan, humans must walk it out step by step. Learn to speak truth with kindness. Learn to listen without building walls. Learn to see each day as a fresh gift from heaven. For love that lasts is built in the daily choosing, not just the grand moments. You are stepping into a season where the two of you will learn how to love with a maturity that only comes from God's teaching. And the angels say this, your prayers for them before they return were more powerful than you knew. Every time you asked God to protect them, even when you weren't speaking to them, those prayers became a covering. They shielded them in moments they didn't even understand. They softened their heart when it could have hardened. Your faithfulness in prayer helped pave the road they have now walked back on. Beloved, if this message is speaking to you, I humbly ask that you hold this space with me. Subscribe so you can receive more gentle guidance rooted in God's truth and peace. Share your reflections or prayer requests in the comments. I will pray alongside you. Send this message to someone whose faith needs to be lifted today. And if you feel led, you can support this ministry with a super thanks, helping us keep creating and sharing words that reach the hearts of those who feel alone. Every bit of support, your presence, your sharing, your prayers, is a light that helps this message reach further. You are part of something sacred. When you listen, because the Word of God never returns empty. Hold this close. Beloved, God's plan not only brought them back into your arms, it will give you both the strength to remain there. Stay in His presence. Let Him lead every step. And watch how He turns reunion into a testimony of His faithful, redeeming love. Beloved soul, the angels are still speaking. And their voice carries such a peace over you right now that they want you to know this return is not a fragile dream you will wake from. It is a reality God has written, sealed, and confirmed. But they also say, what happens next is holy ground. Because when God restores, He does not simply give back what was lost. He gives it back renewed, refined, and positioned for His purpose. When you look into their eyes now, you may notice something different. A softness that was not there before. A humility that speaks louder than any apology could. A stillness that says, they have been in the hands of God. And perhaps you too feel different. You are not the same person you were when they left. You have walked through deserts and storms. You have prayed in nights when hope felt like a distant candle. You have learned that love without God is fragile, but love surrendered to Him is unshakable. Now, you are both standing here, facing one another not as you once were, but as two hearts shaped by the potter's hands. The angels rejoice in this moment, but they remind you, love is not just found, it is nurtured. You will need to water it daily with patience, with honesty, with prayer. There will be days when old wounds try to speak again. There will be moments when fear whispers, what if history repeats itself? But beloved, the difference now is that both of you know the cost of walking away from God's will. You have both seen the emptiness of being apart. You have both tasted the longing that distance creates, and you have both witnessed God's mercy in bringing you back. That mercy is your anchor now. It is not your own strength that will keep you together. It is the daily surrender to the one who holds your story. So pray together. Even if it feels awkward at first. Even if the words don't flow perfectly. Because prayer is not about perfection, it is about presence. And when you invite God into your moments, you invite peace, wisdom, and strength that the world cannot give. The angels say, this return is not just about the two of you. It is also about the testimony it will create. Others will see the way God's timing works. They will hear your story and be reminded that nothing surrendered to Him is ever truly lost. Your love will become a quiet light to someone else's darkness. Your reunion will breathe hope into someone else's waiting. This is why you must guard it. Not with fear, but with care. Set boundaries that protect your peace. Speak life over one another. Be quick to forgive and slow to accuse. Remember, God's plan has brought you this far, and His plan is to carry you further still. Beloved, I know your heart may still be tender, but let this tenderness be your strength, for only hearts that have been softened by God's hand can truly hold love the way He intended. If you ever doubt the reality of this blessing, look back at where you were when they left. Remember how impossible it seemed that this day would come. And then see how God made a way where there was no way. This is not a coincidence. This is not luck. This is the goodness of the Lord made visible in your life, and it will remain visible as long as you keep Him at the center. So walk forward now with gratitude. Let your thankfulness overflow in the way you love them, and in the way you love God. And remember, the same hands that brought them back into your arms will hold you both steady through every season to come. If this message has reached your heart, I invite you to stay close in this journey. Subscribe for more words that bring peace to your spirit. Leave your reflections or prayer requests in the comments. I will stand in prayer with you. Share this with someone who needs to believe in restoration again. And if you feel led, you can bless this work with a super thanks, helping the message of God's faithfulness reach more souls in need. Your presence here is precious. Your listening heart is a gift. And heaven smiles over the love that is now restored. Walk in peace, beloved. God's plan has brought them back into your arms, and His plan will keep you together in His light. Beloved soul, the angels are still near. I can almost feel the quiet joy they carry as they watch you listen. They say there is more you need to understand about why this return happened now, not earlier, not later, but in this exact moment of your life. You see, God's timing is not just about waiting until someone is ready. It is about aligning hearts, circumstances, and spiritual maturity so that His blessing can be received without being wasted. If this reunion had happened sooner, one or both of you might have been too distracted, too hurt, too blind to see the gift in front of you. But now, the season has shifted. Your heart has learned the discipline of patience. Their heart has learned the weight of absence. And together, you are now standing in a place where gratitude can take root more deeply than before. The angels say, God often waits to restore until He knows the restoration will last. That's why some prayers seem delayed. It's not that God hasn't heard you. It's that He is preparing the soil before planting the seed. Beloved, I know you've had nights where you said, Lord, why not now? And days when you wondered if maybe He had said no altogether. But today is proof that His wait is not the same as never. There were conversations they needed to have with God alone. There were lessons they could only learn in solitude. There were pieces of their heart that had to be surrendered before they could be ready to truly love you well. And in that same time, God was working on you too. He was deepening your roots in Him. He was teaching you how to find your peace in His presence instead of in another person. He was preparing you to receive this love without fear of losing yourself in it. This is why the angels are rejoicing. Because this is not just a reunion, it is a divine alignment. Two hearts, shaped separately by the same potter, now set side by side to create something beautiful together. And beloved, I need you to hear this. This reunion is not the finish line. It is the beginning of a new journey. God's plan brought them back into your arms. But His plan will also take both of you forward into places you could not have reached alone. There will be blessings that flow out of this love that will touch others far beyond your own lives. Perhaps a family that will grow in faith because of it. Perhaps friends or strangers who will be inspired by your testimony. Perhaps a legacy of kindness and hope that will ripple into generations you will never meet. This is how God works. When He restores, He multiplies. So treasure this gift. Not with fear of losing it, but with a constant awareness of its value. Speak kindly, listen deeply, pray often, and when the past tries to whisper its doubts, silence it with the truth of what God has done. Beloved, if this word has been feeding your spirit, I gently invite you to remain connected to this stream of peace. Subscribe so you can receive more messages rooted in God's truth. Share your reflections or your prayer requests in the comments. I will stand with you in prayer. Send this message to someone who is waiting for God's restoration in their own life. And if you feel led, you can bless this ministry with a super thanks, helping these words of hope reach souls who are longing for comfort. Every act of sharing, every prayer you lift, becomes part of this work of heaven. Remember, this love was not just returned to you by chance. It was brought back by the perfect, unshakable plan of God. And the same God who opened this door will keep it open in the seasons to come. Beloved soul, settle your heart for a moment. Breathe in slowly. Feel the peace of God surrounding you right now. The angels are still speaking about this return, but now they want to guide you deeper into the why. Because sometimes, when God restores, our hearts are so overjoyed that we forget to ask, what is the purpose of this blessing? And the angels say, purpose is what will keep this love alive when emotions shift, when days get long, when seasons test your bond. They remind you, God does not restore for comfort alone. He restores for calling. Yes, this person has been brought back into your arms because your hearts are meant to walk together. But more than that, because together, you will reflect His goodness in a way you could not alone. Think about it. When they left, you prayed not only for their return, but for their healing. You asked God to make them whole. You asked Him to protect them, even when they were far from you. And now they have come back, but not just as they were. They have come back carrying the work God has done in them. Likewise, you have been changed. The waiting refined your patience. The prayers deepened your faith. The loneliness carved out a space in you that is now filled with gratitude. This is not just a reunion of two people. It is the meeting of two testimonies. The angels say, you will see how God's fingerprints are all over the details. You will notice how certain past arguments feel small now. You will see how the things that once pulled you apart no longer have the same hold over you. You will sense a softness in your conversations, as if God Himself is sitting between you, keeping your hearts aligned. But beloved, there is something important you must know. Every restored love is also a love that must be guarded, not out of fear, not out of suspicion, but out of a commitment to protect what God has placed in your hands. The enemy does not rejoice over restoration. He resents it. And so, he may try to stir misunderstandings, to bring back old wounds, to plant seeds of doubt. This is why prayer must become your daily rhythm. Pray for each other. Pray with each other. Pray even when nothing feels wrong, especially then, because prayer is what keeps the walls of protection strong. The angels are smiling as they say this. God's plan has not just brought them back into your arms, it has anchored you in His hands, and His hands are steady. They will not let you fall. Beloved, let me speak to the part of your heart that still wonders, why me? You were chosen to love them in a way that reflects God's grace. You were chosen to be part of their redemption story, and they were chosen to be part of yours. You may never know all the prayers spoken over both of you by others who love you, friends, family, even strangers who were led by the Spirit to pray for you. But those prayers, combined with your own, became a river of intercession that carried this love back to where it belongs. The angels say, this return is not the end of the miracle. It is the beginning of many. And beloved, I want you to hold this truth in your spirit. Every day you choose to love, you are agreeing with the will of heaven, even on the days that feel ordinary, even when nothing dramatic happens. Those quiet days of choosing each other are where the roots grow deepest. So be gentle with one another. Speak words that build, not words that wound. Listen with the intent to understand, not to reply. And when you feel the urge to pull away, remember the days when you longed for them to return. The angels say, gratitude is the oil that will keep this flame burning. Beloved, if this word has been blessing your heart, I invite you to remain connected to this place of peace. Subscribe for more messages filled with God's truth. Leave your prayer requests or reflections in the comments. I will lift them before the Lord with you. Share this with someone whose faith is being tested right now. And if your heart feels led, you can bless this ministry with a super thanks, helping us reach more souls who need the reminder that God's timing is perfect. Your listening matters. Your presence here matters. And your love is part of the story heaven rejoices over. Walk forward now, knowing that God's plan has not only restored what you thought was lost, it has strengthened it to last through every season ahead. Beloved soul, the angels are still speaking. Their words are like a gentle river, flowing with peace, wisdom, and a quiet joy that fills the heart. They say this is the season where your faith will see its harvest, for the tears you cried were not wasted. The prayers you prayed did not vanish into the air. The longing you carried in silence was not ignored. Heaven heard every whisper. And heaven answered, not in the way you first imagined, but in the way that would bless you the most. God's plan has brought them back into your arms, and now the angels want to remind you how to live in this blessing without fear. Because sometimes, after a miracle, we unknowingly begin to hold our breath. We wait for something to go wrong. We keep glancing over our shoulder, wondering if the blessing will slip away. Beloved, hear me. The same God who opened this door will not shut it without purpose. If He brought you together in His timing, He will keep you together in His strength. Your role now is not to control the outcome. It is to walk in daily trust. Trust that what He has aligned, He has also equipped you to care for. The angels say, this love is not just yours to enjoy. It is yours to steward. Stewardship means tending to it with care. It means speaking gently when you could speak harshly. It means forgiving quickly when the human flaws show. It means remembering that every day together is a gift, not something to take for granted. When they look at you now, they do not just see the person they left behind. They see the one who never stopped carrying them in prayer. They see the reflection of a love that waited with grace instead of resentment. They see the one who loved them enough to trust God with them. That is why they came back different. Their eyes have been opened. Their spirit has been humbled. Their heart has been softened. And your love, too, has deepened, because you have learned that true love is not possession, it is blessing. You bless them by being present, by showing up when it matters, by speaking life over them even when they doubt themselves. The angels are smiling because they know the love you have now is not a fragile flame, but a fire kept alive by the breath of heaven. And if you continue to place God at the center, it will not only last, it will grow brighter. Over time, there will still be days that challenge you. Not because God's plan has failed, but because love in a human world will always meet moments of testing. When those moments come, remember this. You prayed for this. You waited for this. You trusted God for this. Do not let temporary emotions cloud the truth of the miracle you are living in. Instead, return to prayer. Return to gratitude. Return to the quiet, knowing that the one who restored this love is the same one who can heal anything that tries to harm it. Beloved, the angels also say, share your testimony. Someone else is waiting right now, wondering if God will answer their prayer for restoration. Someone else is on their knees asking, is it possible? Your story will remind them, yes, it is possible. Yes, God can do it. Yes, love can come back in His perfect timing. You do not have to share every detail, but even a simple word of hope can water someone else's faith, because this is what love in God's plan does. It multiplies beyond itself. Beloved, if this message has spoken to your spirit, I gently invite you to remain close in this journey of faith. Subscribe so you can continue receiving these words of peace and guidance. Share your reflections or your prayer requests in the comments. I will stand with you in prayer before the Lord. Send this to someone whose heart is still waiting for God's hand to move. And if your heart feels led, you can bless this ministry with a super thanks, helping us keep sharing the message of God's faithfulness with more souls who feel alone in their waiting. Your listening here today is not a small thing. It is a sign that your spirit is in tune with what heaven is doing. So walk forward now, not in fear, but in faith. Not holding this blessing with trembling hands, but with steady ones, knowing it rests in God's keeping. The same God who brought them back into your arms will walk with you both into every tomorrow. And His plans, beloved, are always for good. Beloved, there comes a moment in every God-written love story where the striving stops and the soul simply surrenders. For so long, they tried to reason away what they felt for you. They told themselves it was just admiration, or that time had exaggerated the bond, or that their emotions were born from loneliness. But the truth? It was always love. From the very first moment, God had planted something eternal in the soil of their heart, and you also knew it deep down. Even in the quiet nights when you questioned if you had imagined it all, your spirit whispered, "This is not ordinary. This is divine." But here's the thing about divine love, it doesn't operate on human timetables. God allows certain delays, certain detours, because He is not just preparing the relationship. He is preparing the hearts. They had to be stripped of pride, of fear, of old wounds that made them doubt whether love could truly be safe. They had to be brought to a place where they stopped running from the blessing God was giving them. And you, precious soul, had to grow too. You had to learn how to love without clinging, how to stand in faith without forcing the outcome, how to trust that God's timing is never late, even when your heart aches in the waiting. Now, that season is shifting. The pressure they once felt when thinking of you has become peace. The fear that told them to escape has been replaced with a deep yearning to come closer. God is aligning your paths in such a way that neither of you will have to chase or beg, you will simply meet. And when you do, the air will carry the same holy stillness it did the first time, only now there will be no running, no walls, no hiding. They will look at you as if they've finally come home. And in their eyes you will see that all the resistance, all the detours, all the almosts were never signs of rejection. They were signs of divine preparation. Beloved, God has made sure that love will win, not by force, not by manipulation, but by His perfect, irresistible, undeniable plan. And when that moment comes, you will understand why He made you wait, because the love you are stepping into is not just yours, it is His gift. A living testimony that no matter how far someone tries to run, no matter how they try to escape the feelings, God's will is stronger. In love, true, God-breathed love will always find a way. Beloved, when God begins to open the eyes of two people He has joined in His heart, there's no human power, no fear, no misunderstanding that can keep them apart. You may not see the whole picture yet, but heaven does. And the angels have been watching something beautiful, something sacred unfold. In the quiet of your life, there is someone whose heart has been slowly awakening to the truth that what they were looking for in so many other places was already placed in you. The truth that the peace they prayed for, the love they dreamed of, the companionship they secretly longed for, had been written with your name beside it all along. They didn't see it at first. Sometimes, love that is too deep is the hardest to recognize in the beginning, because it doesn't come wrapped in the same patterns we've been used to. It comes quietly, it comes wholly. It comes with a weight that feels eternal. And so, in their uncertainty, they may have stepped away. They may have tried to convince themselves that it was just friendship or just a season. But God has been speaking differently. The Lord has been stirring memories in their heart, memories of your laughter, your kindness, your prayers. They find themselves remembering the way you made them feel safe, the way you listened without rushing, the way your presence felt like rest for their weary soul. This is not coincidence. It is the gentle nudge of heaven. It is the whisper of the Spirit saying, "This one is mine. This one is chosen. Do not overlook what I have placed before you." And now, beloved, the angels say the walls around their heart are softening. The fears are losing their power. The lies the enemy planted are being pulled out by the root. Because when God has ordained a love, He will protect it. When God has written a name into your story, He will make sure you do not miss it. Even now, in the secret places of their prayers, they are beginning to thank God for you. They are beginning to realize that the feeling they tried to silence was actually His voice guiding them toward you. And soon, sooner than you think, there will be a moment when heaven aligns your paths again. This time, the connection will not feel confusing. This time, it will be clear. This time, they will know in their spirit, "This is where I'm meant to be." So hold on, beloved. Do not let impatience steal your peace. Do not let doubt write a different story in your mind. God's timing is not just good, it is perfect. And when the appointed hour comes, love will not be something either of you will try to escape. It will be something you both will run toward with full hearts and with heaven smiling upon you. Beloved, there comes a time when the wandering ends, a time when God says, enough searching, enough running, enough resisting. And in that moment, the one who once could not see finally sees. They have walked through life thinking the answers would be found somewhere else. They thought fulfillment was in achievement. They thought peace was in distance. They thought love could be replaced by something easier, something less vulnerable. But nothing worked. Because what God has designed, no substitute can satisfy. And so, through His gentle leading, His quiet discipline, His unshakable love, He has been bringing them back to the door of your heart. And maybe that door has been closed for a while, not locked, but guarded. Because you have learned to protect your peace. Because you have learned that your worth is not measured by someone's recognition, but by God's truth over your life. Yet, as they approach, something in your spirit will know, this is not the same person who left. This is not the same person who doubted. This is someone refined by fire, humbled by grace, and awakened to love. God has taken them through valleys so deep that they could only be lifted out by His mercy. He has stripped away illusions, removed counterfeit attachments, and softened their hardened places. He has shown them who they truly are, and in that process, shown them who you truly are. They stand ready, not because they are perfect, not because they have all the answers, but because they finally understand that love real, God-breathed love is not about control, or pride, or self-protection. It is about surrender. It is about choosing God's way over their own way. You see, beloved, this return is not just about romance. It is about alignment with destiny. It is about two lives, two callings, two journeys, converging under the same purpose. When God brings someone to the door of your heart in His timing, it is never by accident, and you may feel the weight of the decision. You may even hear the quiet voice of the Holy Spirit whisper, "This is the moment I've been preparing you for." Because love requires courage. It requires opening the door again, even when the past has given you reasons to keep it closed. But here is your reassurance. God is not asking you to do this alone. He is not asking you to rely on blind hope. He is inviting you to walk forward hand in hand with Him, trusting that He knows the full picture. They will come not just with words, but with actions that reflect change. They will come with a heart that desires to honor God through how they love you. They will come understanding that you are not a possession, not a trophy, not a convenience, but a gift entrusted by God. And when that moment comes, you will see that what was once broken is now made whole. That what was once delayed is now right on time. That what God joins together, no human hand or mistake can undo. So, keep your heart open enough to hear God's voice. Keep your spirit discerning enough to recognize His hand. And above all, remember this: if He has brought them back to your door, it's because the story was never finished, only paused for transformation.